Focusing less on keywords and more on delivering high quality content is going to be how you win here. And this is good news, honestly.
Welcome back to Duo On Air. I'm Abby.
And I'm Courtney.
And we're the ex-agency turned entrepreneurial team that puts the Duo in Duo Collective. Our boutique organic marketing agency specializes in SEO, social media strategy, and branding.
We're an everyday pair of business besties / marketing experts obsessed with helping our community learn more about what it takes to run a business.
Which is why on Duo On Air, we're not holding anything back. We're giving you all the info we know about how to grow your business organically so you can be the confident CEO you were made to be.
And how to navigate life as a small business owner.
Whether it's on your own or with your best friend by your side, so grab your coffee
or your mimosa, we don't judge,
and settle in for a quick value-packed episode of Marketing Tips.
Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 153, and today we're going to share a few of our predictions for 2025 in the marketing landscape, more specifically for SEO and branding.
I love these kinds of episodes or posts or blogs or whatever because I always like to see at the end of the year if people were right. I'm like, oh, were you right on your prediction or were you drastically off?
Yeah, I know. So now I feel
So now
attacked.
we're under the what do you
microscope?
Call it? Microscope. There. I was going to say microphone. I mean, kind
we
of.
are under the microphone. So funny. But anyways, these are kind of backed by science. No, they're not. But they are, like, obviously we have researched certain things because we're always researching things in our genre of work and just trying to figure out what is trending or what's working. Trending is like way too hot of a word.
I hate that. I hate trend and fad and stuff like that. But
it is true.
That's what the cool kids say, I think.
Yeah, I know. I think they say much different things.
Yeah, actually, probably.
But anyways, we this is just something we wanted to dive into because we know that following these trends can really help understand what's working right now and help you anticipate what's coming so that you can stay ahead of your competition during, this new year of just trying to figure out what's going to work for you. And I don't think when you listen to these types of things, it's not like we're talking about a whole overhaul of everything you've ever done for marketing. It's more of just sometimes a mindset shift, sometimes maybe just a subtle shift in how you're creating things.
Yeah, these don't have to be like big things that are shifting from year to year, because if things shifted drastically from year to year, none of us would be good at what we do. Like there's small things that change year to year that we should be conscious of. But yeah, this isn't like overhauling your whole marketing strategy plan or anything.
Yeah, so things are constantly changing. So we're going to take a peek before we dive into all of this of what worked last year. And it's good to remember too that just because it worked last year, it may not be working this year. People are continuing to adapt quickly to new technology and platforms. So keeping up with this stuff and your audience and what's happening is the utmost importance. Your audience, like some of these things might be applicable for our audience, but not yours. So you also have to really understand your audience really well to know if this is relevant for you too.
Yeah. I think too, when we talk about technology and like people keeping up with it and things changing constantly, it's also knowing where you want to be. Like there's so many things that get brought up every year, like Threads, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's kind of like where you want to live and making sure that like whatever these trends are, that you're bringing that with you on these platforms. We're not saying you have to be on all these platforms, or if there's like a new trending platform that's out there, like when Threads came out, like if it doesn't make sense for you and your business, don't do it. Just because it's new and hot and a quote unquote fad doesn't mean you need to live there either.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd say as you're listening to this, if it's relevant for you to share any of these with your audience, do it, because this kind of stuff, staying up to date on trends and things that are happening or predictions of things that are happening in the new year is going to help your audience understand that you're knowledgeable, you're innovative, you're invested in providing value. And it's all about creating that trust and authority with your brand, with your audience for your brand. So this podcast is kind of an example of that. I mean, we love sharing this kind of stuff with our audience, whether it's in our membership and sharing like really detailed stuff from an SEO perspective or through webinars, or just through podcast episodes like this. We love staying up to date so that we can be up to date for you when you have questions for us.
Exactly.
So let's start with what we noticed, especially in 2024. So I would say from the biggest thing that kind of happened in 2024 is AI.
Shouldn't come as a shock to anybody.
ChatGPT, Gemini, which in earlier in the year was still called Bard. I don't know why anyone thought that they should keep that name Bard. Gemini is definitely way better, but everything just exploded with AI bots and using them in your business. And even though they've been around for a long time, it became a lot more accessible. And because of that, everyone talked about it. So not just in SEO, but literally everything in business and in marketing, AI is a hot topic.
It's a hot topic, and it's not taking over the world, but it is something that you need to probably think about incorporating into your business in one shape or form.
And we'll talk about how that comes to life too for 2025 and both like branding and SEO predictions as well.
Another thing in 2024 is putting authenticity first and focusing on real content, real struggles, real wins, real things that are happening, overpowering that perfection in branding. So like instead of showing up perfect in your perfect brand and your perfect Instagram grid and your perfect voice and the perfect dance that you did for that Instagram reel, we're not doing that anymore. People are becoming more real. They're being more authentic. They're showing their real selves. They're a part of their brand and they're showing up as their brand in their real lives. And I think that has been a breath of fresh air for people because we really got sucked into this. You have to do this dance and then you have to do this song and you have to jump on this fad. And a lot of people we talk to in our community hate that. They hate that. They don't want to dance in front of a screen. Abby being one of them. Sometimes I force her to and it's okay. But it's being more real and authentic versus showing up with a polished, perfect brand. Because we all know behind the Instagram grid that everybody's lives are a little bit chaotic. Nobody has this perfect life that they might be showing on Instagram. Everything is a little messy and it's okay to show up in that mess and show that. So
For sure.
Focusing on authenticity over a perfect, polished brand.
Absolutely. Short form video dominance. I don't think anyone's surprised with that. With TikTok, YouTube Shorts, everything, just Reels, just dominating the space. And then I'd also say the importance of quality content, specifically focusing on the EAT acronym, which Google has recently added another E to that. So when you say it, you have to say like eat.
Like you're really hungry?
Yeah. Anyways, it stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And all of your content on your website should continue to focus on this. Should continue to strive to share the experience you have in this industry, that you're an expert in this industry, that you have authority in this industry, and that people can trust you. And if your content is doing that, you're going to perform well. So that's been an underlying focus for SEO forever, but I'd say in the age of AI, it has been even more important in 2024, and it may or may not be part of my 2025 predictions too.
There we go. Another one that we have noticed in 2024 is a strong craving for community and events. So we've really emerged from this COVID bubble. A lot of businesses started around COVID and we were all shut down. We were all locked in our homes and we couldn't go out and be with our community. So I think from that, these past couple of years, especially this year, there has been really that strong community aspect. People want to get together in real life. People want to meet people and brainstorm and learn about people's businesses, be educated in person. So I think we really want to step away from our screens and actually build that community and that connection because we lost it for so long. And people realize that that's something that they actually really need to thrive within their own businesses.
And finally, we noticed that spending was probably down, I'd say, in 2024, or it was just more focused. People were really focused on cutting costs, driving efficiencies, focusing on growth. People were just smarter with their money, which isn't a bad thing, but I know we've had slow months this year that have been slower than any others, and we really felt it, and I'm sure you might have felt that too. And it really just proves the importance of being able to articulate the value and what you're offering. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2025.
Yeah, it really will. So those are all kind of the things with 2024. And now we want to dive into some of our predictions for 2025 with branding and SEO. So we're going to kick it off with branding first. And this should be no shock because we've talked about it a lot, but AI powered branding. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I can have ChatGPT make me a logo. And that is absolutely not what I'm saying. Please don't. What we mean by leveraging tools like ChatGPT and other AI is for storytelling for your brand and to really help create that content in your voice. We have a workbook. If you go to duocollective.com forward slash. I always want to say the wrong thing. I'm such a dummy. Anyways, Sip and Strategize workbook. This is a recent workbook that we created for a retreat that we went to this fall, and people absolutely loved it. So it's really taking your brand strategy and crafting that in ChatGPT. This platform helps you storytell. It really starts to learn your brand and bring your brand to life. And once you train these tools to know your brand and have that foundation within that actual tool, they can work so hard for you. So when we talk about AI branding, we're talking about that storytelling. We're talking about crafting blogs or just any sort of digital content that you might be creating, but making sure that it aligns to your brand tone, voice, all of that, so you sound consistent throughout anywhere that you're showing up online.
In a world where everyone is using AI, this is how you're going to stand out. So
absolutely.
Be sure to do that. And we'll link this in the show notes. Otherwise, you can also just Instagram DM us SIP.
Yes,
right?
SIP, S-I-P. The second one is a focus on branding that leaves the digital screen. So you're probably like, what the heck does that mean? And this is really just having that brand foundation that allows you to live and breathe your brand. So you as a human, you are your brand. How does that come to life? So let's say you are at a community event, or you're at a speaking, or you're connecting with people IRL in real life. How do you represent your brand? So you are stepping out of a digital screen. You're not on Instagram. You're not on your website. Like, you as an individual, how do you show up as your brand? Is it the things you wear, or is it a little extra thing that you might hand out when you get together at community events? Is it making a special coffee drink when you're speaking at an event like Abby and I just did? Double shot of Duo, which is in that Sip and Strategize workbook if you want to make it. So it's really taking your brand to that next level by personify. How do you say that word? Personify. Oh my gosh, I need more coffee, you guys. So you are the brand, right? The biggest compliment that Abby and I get when we meet with people, even on Zoom, they're like, you're exactly like I thought you'd be. And we're like, oh my gosh, I love that. People are like, we want to grab happy hour with you, or we want to grab a coffee with you. You ladies are so fun. We want to be your friend. And that's how we step into our brand. Yeah. So when people say that to us, we're like, we're doing something right.
Yeah. And it can be as simple as the outfits you're wearing, or the type of business card you're handing out, or something you say, like a tagline that you say out loud to people. Like, it can be something so small. We have a friend, Monica, who we have known for a long time, and she specializes in strategy for e-commerce business. And she always wears a pink suit. Always. To everything she does, like whether she shows up online or in person, pink suit, and that is her. Yeah. And she lives and breathes her brand in that way. So you can have your own pink suit. Think of it that way. Ooh, it doesn't need to be big. That. Yeah.
She should like copyright that or trademark that or whatever. Yeah. Right. I love it. The third one is kind of this retro-futurism look, which you have probably already kind of seen in this space already, or even at retailers recently. I feel like all of their holiday stuff is just like wild and retro and bright lately. So it's really this blend of like nostalgic retro elements, think the 80s or Y2K aesthetics, with kind of like this futuristic look, which I think a lot of this too is going to come through in color. I think a big thing for 2025 is going to be color. People are sick of the sad beige era. People want to step into color, make a splash, be really bright, flashy, and I'm here for it. Like, I'm so excited. I am kind of I used to be the sad beige lady, and I would say my house aesthetic is still that way, but like I'm starting to really break out with my wardrobe and the colors that I just got a pink phone, and usually I'm like, give me the white phone. I want the neutral phone. And I just got a pink one. Abby and I both did. So I'm like, whoa.
It's actually a
what is
problem.
happening?
They were just sitting next to each other, and I was like, crap, we have the same phone case and the same phone.
We might have to get like little like stickers of our faces or something. Yeah. Cute.
Of our icons.
Yes, there we go. So really, I think bright, futuristic, bold is going to be something that we see in 2025. Another one is motion. So I think static visuals are great, but I think they're starting to kind of take a back seat because a lot of things can be animated now. We've got fun little GIFs or videos or people shooting, little reels and stuff like that, ways that you can actually make your brand come to life in some sort of a motion effect online is going to catch people's attention more so than a static image. It brings them in, it adds this whole nother level of visual difference and aspect, and it's fun. So when you have these fun elements sprinkled throughout the digital space, you keep people interested and want to keep scrolling. And then the last one is authentic photography and illustration. So we're really, again, moving away from this overly polished look and leaning more towards our authentic selves, more towards things that are relatable. This includes diversity, making sure that we're representing that. And again, that we're not looking like we're putting on some sort of a facade, right? Like an unapproachable, unrealistic facade. That's not how people are living nowadays. People want to see the real. They want to see potentially the messy, the chaos. So I would say we're kind of moving away from that curated perfectionism and really leaning in towards being more authentic.
I'd say too, this is something we've even been focusing on, just a little sprinkling of it throughout our brand photo shoots, is incorporating some of our own what do you call them? Like
styled shots.
Yeah, styled shots, our podcast mic and confetti and glasses and like our own items. Because I do think the world of Unsplash and Pexels and like there's a lot of stuff out there that a lot of the same people use, and they're beautiful and they're great. But if that's all you're using on your website and you don't have any of your unique voice and like shining through in this photography, it's not going to make as big of an impact.
Right. If you're seeing photos like on Pexels on Unsplash that you could easily recreate for your brand, you should definitely do that at a brand photo shoot.
Yes.
And this is where we highly encourage you to hire a brand photographer because yes, it is an investment, but it is so important to let your brand shine through authentically and doing styled shoots like this too, because you're going to stand out. You're going to make a difference. It's a big investment, but it's so important to represent your brand instead of, grabbing things that other people have. Like I've been to multiple websites where I'm like, oh, that's from Pexels. Like I just know immediately because I've seen it on 4 different websites, and that's fine. That's okay. But if you have the money to invest in a brand photographer, we highly encourage that because that's going to make you stand out just a bit more.
And wrap it into your budget once a year. Like just once a year.
Yeah.
Just try and rope it in. And I would say too, like one thing I'm noticing in this space from like a search perspective and even just like on Facebook is the overuse of AI imagery and the fakeness and almost the deceptiveness of it. Like all of these images that are maybe making you think that they're real. I mean, this really, really sparked during like the hurricane. Like people sharing images that was like, this isn't true. I even saw this with like the volcano eruption in Iceland. Someone posted a picture on Facebook and it was people sitting in the Blue Lagoon with the volcano in the background and the lava pouring through and then the northern lights. And it was like the only place in the world where you can get this view. And everyone commenting was like, that isn't the view of the volcano. No. Like, you can't see it from that part of the Blue Lagoon.
I've been to the Blue Lagoon. Yeah, you cannot see it.
It's been closed. It's closed. Like, no one's there. The parking lot is covered in lava. And also, like, no. Like, this just isn't possible.
Right.
But people are creating these fake images, which fake images have always been a thing, right? People Photoshop them or create them.
But it's just so easy now. It's so easy now. You just type your fake idea into these and they create them, which is scary and like very confusing to some people too in the internet. So I really do hope that like in 2025 we start to shift away from this. I think it had its like boom. It was like, oh, look at what I can do with AI and make all these crazy images. I really hope that's kind of over and people are over it. And we really start to get back to like real authentic images.
Yeah, agreed. And the good thing is that now Meta for sure is going to be labeling AI images on social media, which I think is beyond needed and just another piece of transparency and another reason why you'll really stand out if you focus on creating your own content that really defines who you are and helps you stand out. All right, let's shift gears and talk about SEO predictions for 2025. So I'm going to do my best to eliminate some jargon here, but there will be probably some new terms that you aren't familiar with, but don't worry, I'll break them down. So first, just AI-driven SEO. This is something that you've seen in 2024, and I think this is only going to get bigger and more popular and important in 2025. So looking at those AI overviews, I actually was just on a call with a client the other day, and they're based in Italy, and so they didn't even know this existed. They didn't know that AI overviews existed in Google. So if you are not in the US or Canada, you likely have not been seeing this. And so when you go into Google and you search for something, before any of the other search results pop up, you get this little AI overview summary. And every bullet of that summary has a little link icon, and then the links are all over on the right-hand side, and you can scroll through all the links featured in the AI overview. It's almost like a search page within the search page. It's really cool. And
it is cool.
I actually love it. It's one of the reasons why people are talking about like 0-click searches now, because people are finding their answer right there on the search page. And a lot of times this has kind of scared people because people are like, oh, AI is like, all of a sudden SEO is not a thing anymore. And I'll say that the AI overviews we're featured in, those are our top performing blogs from a click standpoint. People are clicking through more in those overviews, but they're scrolling less. So getting on page one and more so getting in those featured snippets of those AI overviews is going to be crucial to grow your SEO. And we'll do a whole episode on this in the future of like how to appear in these overviews and what tips and tricks you can do within your content, because it's really about quality content and it's about structuring your content in easy, skimmable headline kind of formats. So we'll talk about this more, but this is something that's going to continue to be super popular. I mean, my prediction, but I feel like I'm pretty 100% in that one. I feel confident.
Oh, I love it.
Next, quality over quantity. So this is going to be huge. I think this has always been huge, focusing on EAT, like we talked about before, and just the quality of your website overall, rather than pumping out new blogs week after week after week. So we had chatted with a client like a few months ago, and she was mentioning that another SEO agency offered to create like 30 some blogs for her a month.
So many.
It's insane. So you can only imagine the quality of those posts. And sure, maybe you'll get traffic, but I doubt that the quality of those posts will ever convert for you. And I also doubt that you won't end up with a bunch of duplicated content or content that's really weak or content that maybe contradicts each other,
or driving in the wrong audience.
Yes.
You could be bringing in somebody that you don't necessarily align with or want to work with.
Yes, absolutely. So really spending the time to focus on the overall quality of your website, removing blogs that don't make sense, redirecting them, optimizing old blogs that need a refresh, like spending time doing that rather than just focusing on cranking out new content. So third is going to be the diversification of search engines. So I'm not here to tell you that I think Google is going away, because I don't think they're going to lose that much market share in 2025. But I do think more search engines are going to start gaining slightly more share or just start being experimented with. So really making sure that you can show up on all of these different search engines is going to be super important, especially with new AI-powered search like SearchGPT, which is powered by Bing, U.com. There's so many platforms out there. I mean, even DuckDuckGo has been gaining share over time too, with its importance on privacy policies and all of that. So just really making sure that you focus on making sure you show up in all of these different spaces and not forgetting about other search engines.
It's kind of like when you think of it from like a social media perspective, you know how people are like, oh, I need to be on Instagram and TikTok and this. Like, we also need to think about that from our search engines that we're trying to be on as well. Like, it's not just Google. Google doesn't run the world. So it's like
Pretty
making
close,
right? But it's making sure that, you're diversifying them.
Google is the Beyonce, but there are others. And the fourth is content that satisfies multiple intents. So when I say intents, I am talking about, is this piece of content informational? Is it transactional, or is it navigational? So breaking that down, informational content is going to be like educational on your blog, answering questions, FAQs, things like that. Your transactional content is going to be sales pages, things where you have a very specific action that you want someone to take, and it's likely buying things. So product pages are also transactional. And then when we think about navigational, these are core navigation pages that live in the header or the footer of your website. So about pages, service pages, resources pages. So when you are creating content, focusing on creating content that serves multiple search intents. So can you create a blog post that not only informs people, but also drives sales of whatever it is that you're selling, or gets them on your email list? Like, what's that transaction you want them to make? And then finally, making sure that you are linking to your core navigational pages on your website. So you're driving them to a service page or to an FAQ or to a resources page. And all of that is going to perform better than creating one-off pieces of content with one focus. And that's because, think of it like your searcher. The reason why things are broken into intent is because we're thinking about the searcher on the other end of the screen. So is someone looking just for information right now? Is someone ready to buy? Or is someone searching for you? Like, they're actually searching for you and they want to buy from you. So how can you make sure that that piece of content is doing all of that? How can you catch someone regardless of what phase they're in? And basically what that means is just creating longer form content that does all of that and has it very sectioned off. Like I said, for the first tip with those AI overviews, section it into these chunks that make it easily skimmable and an easy way that can attract all of those audiences.
We talked about this earlier, but this could probably be a whole episode of its own on kind of how to walk through that.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. And then finally, so the last prediction is the importance of semantic search. So this, I realize, is a jargony word, but it's really not. It's not something you haven't heard of, and it's not something that you likely aren't doing already. So search engines are going to get smarter. Like, I don't think that's a crazy prediction, right? Like, they're a business just like everyone else, improving their platform. So they're going to get smarter, and they're going to be able to understand the meaning and the context behind what someone is typing in. So I get this question all the time of like, okay, if I switch the order of my keywords when I Google it, or if I add a descriptor, or if I put a word in between it, is that still okay? Yes, because Google is smarter than just the term. It used to be you could just put the keyword multiple places and stuff it, so to speak, into your content. And that's not the case anymore. Now it's more about answering what the searcher was searching for. You can use the keyword one time in that content, but answer it so well that you show up on page 1. So I'm going to give you an example of this. So say this is like old school. Say you type in the best pizza in Minneapolis. Now, you're a search engine, or say you're asking a friend, they might give you a list of pizza places, but they're really not going to understand what it is that you want. Do you want a pizza that's going to be delivered? Do you want to go eat at a restaurant? Do you want it to be fancy or a hole in the wall? Are you looking for cheap pizza or just best tasting pizza, best price pizza? You could, what are you looking for? Just best pizza is pretty vague, right? But if you say something like, I'm craving a really good pizza in Minneapolis or whatever city, and I'm looking for something kind of fancy and with a nice atmosphere. Now, if you say that to someone, if I tell that to Court, for example, I was just telling Court, okay, I want a pendant light over my dining room, and I want it to hang down, and you have all these descriptions.
She wants me to find one for her, so she had to explain it to me just the way she wanted it.
Yes. So as I explain it, you start to understand, okay, Now, if you're saying that you want a really good pizza, you want something kind of fancy, nice atmosphere, like we're thinking like wood-fired, right? Like mushroom, like whatever.
I'm getting hungry.
Fancy, like hot honey garlic.
Okay, please stop.
Yum. Okay, so now you're going to understand that, okay, it's a sit-down restaurant. It's not delivery. You want higher quality pizza. We're not looking for the cheapest option. And you care about the ambiance of the restaurant. So this is what a search engine is going to understand too. You don't need to say sit-down restaurant. You don't need to say high-quality pizza. You don't need to say good ambiance or like whatever kind of, I don't know what other words you would use to describe a good ambiance restaurant. Good ambiance. I don't know.
I like ambiance.
Thank you. You don't need to say them, but you understand the intent behind it. And that's the same thing with Google, is Google is going to understand the intent behind what you're searching for if you use the right descriptions, and it's going to be able to connect you with the right content because it understands the intent behind the content if you've written it the right way. So focusing less on keywords and more on delivering high quality content is going to be how you win here. And this is a good news, honestly. It's going to make writing content easier. You're going to have to focus, like you'll focus less on the keyword and like how perfect you're using it.
Right.
And you'll just create a good piece of content, which is all we want.
A piece of content that you would want to read,
yes.
that you would want to have
For real.
The details and everything specific in there.
For real. So at the end of the day, from an SEO perspective, I don't know that this is a prediction other than just like me reiterating for the 1000th time the importance of quality content and sharing value with your audience.
The 1000th time. I love it. So that was our predictions on branding and SEO, and then we just have a few overall marketing predictions that we're kind of throwing out there. And the first one is a continued rise on short form video, but without the trends. So no more crazy dances, no more voiceovers. That's gonna keep happening, but you've
say it louder,
already
Abby's
Abby's excited. Courtney's still not sure. But I think what is it's just oversaturated. People have done it. People have seen it. It pushed people out of their comfort zones that they didn't want to be pushed out of, so much so that some people just stopped creating content or just stopped showing up in spaces like Instagram or TikTok because they just wanted to show up authentic and they didn't want to have to do all this craziness to try to get views or likes or comments or whatever it might be. And we think that those are going to go away. They kind of like hit their ceiling and now people are just burnt out from it. So they want to show up more authentically with short form videos that way.
And I think just from a consumer standpoint, we're just kind of sick of seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it gets repetitive.
I also think an overall focus on sustainability in business is going to be huge. I think we forget all the time that everything we're using costs energy. We're using energy in some shape or form, and search engines take energy. There's specific search engine platforms out there that specialize in giving back like the carbon footprint or eliminating and lowering the carbon footprint. So I actually found a website the other day about the carbon footprint of your website. So I think that's kind of cool. We might bring that up.
Oh, interesting.
But AI takes an enormous amount of energy to run. And as we continue to use AI more and more people adopt it and start using it in their business, it's going to continue to take an enormous load of energy. So with that, like how can we make sure that we don't forget what we are taking when we're using tools like this, and also focusing on giving back essentially? How can we have a more sustainable business, and how can we communicate that to our audience? Because I think people are really going to be conscious about that.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting for us to kind of figure that out in 2025 for ourselves, and then have a follow-up episode towards the end of the year.
Stay tuned. How to be more sustainable in business.
I'm excited about that. The next is just being hyper personalized. So really focusing on your audience and reaching them where they are. Incorporating things like automation, like ManyChat in the social space is a really great place to do that too. And really just hyper focusing on them and showing up where they are. So you know your audience, you really want to be in their ecosystem, you really want them to learn from you, and you want to educate them. So really show up where they are, show up there when they're there, make sure you're giving them what they need and what they want, and creating that community and nurturing it. So getting really hyper-focused on your audience and knowing exactly who they are and where to reach them.
Yeah, thankfully we have more data and more platforms to help us do that than ever before.
Yes.
And then finally, let's end on a note of what in the heck is happening with TikTok.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's here to stay. I don't know if I'm too worried about it. And Abby and I have talked, like, it's not going to affect our business if it goes away, but it will affect a lot of people. It will affect a lot of people's businesses. It'll affect some of our friends, some of our clients, and we don't want that. At the end of the day, we're not worried about it for us, but we are worried about it for the other people that we do know and that we work with.
Agreed. But yeah, I don't think, 170 million people use TikTok in the US last time I checked.
That's 170 million people that they would just lose.
That is massive.
I just can't.
I think that they will end up selling that portion or whatever they need to do legally. I think they will end up selling it. But again, like, I also could see things just being delayed until
2026.
So who knows? It'll be really interesting to kind of watch and see what happens. But yeah, I know that this will affect a lot of people. So, and it's just a whole nother reason why you should really diversify where you are showing up and making sure that you're not tied just to one place and that you're really growing in multiple places. So, So we hope that you enjoyed this. We can't wait to come back to it and see how things land throughout the year. And we'll keep you updated on how we are continuing to push our business forward using all of these trends and predictions too.
If you like this episode, please be sure to share it with a friend and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes dropping every Monday. Plus, if you haven't already, please go ahead and leave us a review and don't hesitate to share any new episode ideas. We absolutely love hearing from you and creating this content for you. See you next week.